Hey there, toy collector friends. Welcome back to the channel. This is the Time Travelling Toy Collector, and this is another entry into the Toy-volution occasional series. And I didn't really know what to call this one. I just sort of wanted to call it July, July 2023, because it's been quite a packed month. I've not, you've probably noticed, put out much content in July 2023. Because it's just been a really busy month. But within that busy month, there's also been quite a bit of collecting. And what I've tried to pull together here is a bit of what July 2023 has sort of given to me in its various different ways, across various different aspects of collecting. So there's been quite a few new releases that have come out. I've also been able to attend London Film and Comic Con, and much quieter it was this year, but it still had quite a lot of vendors who had quite a lot of really exciting things that I wouldn't normally pick up. But for some reason this year, I really went to town and picked up some stuff that I don't think I would normally have collected. All of which I'm gonna talk about in their individual videos. I'm sure that's certainly my intention. But I've also felt a bit of a change in terms of my approach to some of these things, because I've also, as you can see front and center in this video, I've also started to unpackage some things. So, for example, I'm not a Transformers Studio Series Bayverse-esque type collector. But I've had no choice but to pick up Scourge. And I've had no choice but to pick up Rise of the Beasts Optimus Prime. And take them out and actually experience them, actually spend some time playing with them, because and messing with them, because they really are excellent figures. And you'll have seen other people do some video reviews of them. But whilst I was doing this, it did sort of make me examine my relationship with collecting a little bit, because I do enjoy doing, you know, the videos for YouTube, and I do enjoy showing off several of the things, many of the things that I've been in a fortunate position to be able to collect over time. So the fact that July has kind of been so busy with one thing and another, and that includes other work stuff as well, has really meant that I've not been able to do some of the things that I would like to do. So when I actually sort of sat down with some of my purchases, and of course some of this was pre-order stuff that's arrived, as well as the stuff that I picked up when I was at the convention. I have to say, I've really sort of looked at why do I collect, and I know that everyone has their own sort of collector's story. And why they start collecting the way that they do. And of course, I've talked to you before about my original sort of Power 3 collectible ranges, which was G.I. Joe, or in the UK it was Action Force, my Star Wars collection, and Transformers. That was pretty much the big three that I had. I had other toys and I had dips into other things, but there wasn't really much else in terms of main things that attracted me. I was a big follower of Star Trek back in the day. I was a big follower of Doctor Who back in the day, classic period time. But of course, we had very limited toys to collect around those sort of things. And what we did have, I think I probably had, to be honest, apart from one of my holy grails, which is the Dennis Fisher Doctor Who TARDIS, which I've come close to a few times in the last year on eBay, and I've just not let it. I've just not paid for it, because you know, a couple of people are paying silly money for it. But that's not what this video is about. It's not about people paying silly money for things. People will always pay silly money for things. I mean, this is about as I say, my relationship with collecting, and I do wonder. Sometimes I do wonder whether or not if collecting is linked in some way to our sense of recapturing that which we've lost. And I'll explain why I'm saying that, because um, I lost my mum a few years ago, and I wouldn't say it was the first major bereavement I've experienced, but it certainly was one of them. It certainly was one of them. And it really prompted me, I think, when I was going through some of the stuff that she had tucked away in nooks and crannies at her place, which I had to empty. And I came across so many things that I thought had so much been lost to time that I would never see them again. And there they were suddenly in front of me, and they connected me to a point in time that that I wasn't expecting, and it gave me a feeling that I wasn't expecting. And it was sort of around that time that I started to discover other people on YouTube who were talking about not only the old toys, but also very much the new toys. So things like the new studio releases, and the new Hasbro, the updated version of the toys, War for Cybertron, etc., etc. I also started to become aware of the Hero Collector and Eagle Moss Star Trek starships, because again, I hadn't gone to any conventions. One of the reasons I started going to conventions was after I lost my mum. Some friends said, we've always taught you about coming to do these things. And so I started doing it. And again, I started seeing a lot of collectible toys in inverted commas. Because I know some people will argue whether a toy is a toy or a toy is a collectible. And I think it comes down really to, what's your relationship with that toy? Are you going to say, look, I've got the biggest collection of Optimus Primes in Great Britain, or I've got I've got so many different variations of Optimus Prime, it's fantastic, and maybe you are going to say that. Maybe you're going to say, oh well, I've collected all the brilliant studio series of all of the Bayverse films, or maybe you're going to say, I've still got all of my classic G1, sorry, Brawn, G1 figures. I picked this up for example, I picked this one up at the convention. It's from Toy Bedlam. I think it's called Toy Bedlam. So shout out to Toy Bedlam, who had a lot of their G1 stuff packaged like this. I thought it was absolutely fantastic. And I knew I'd got Studio Series 86 Brawn on pre-order. And I thought, well, actually, I never collected any of these really at all. The mini-bots from the original Transformers toys. I only really went for the Dinobots and then gradually a few more of that sort of class and size. But the mini-bots, not so much. I won Bumblebee from having my letter printed in the Transformers comic. And my letter has actually been shown on Toys R Us. That's not Toys R Us, that's Toys R Us. The YouTube reviewer and vlogger, his channel, when he did a particular issue of Transformers, and my letter was shown on his channel. I messaged him to tell him it was how excited I was that occurred. But I saw this and I thought, well, this is actually a prime example of, I mean, let's be honest, and I will look at this in more detail in a different sort of video, but this is the sort of toys we had in the 80s, and it's not meant to be sacrilege, because I really love it, and you can see I spent £15 on it. And this was probably what, $1.99 maybe, give or take, back in the 80s. So not a bad return, but no card. But that's fine, because again, I don't want it in the card. I want to be able to take it out and play with it and touch it, which I have done, and it's a fantastic figure. But I want to be able to say that it took me back to happy times. I never owned it, but it was part of my childhood. It featured in the comics I collected, the cartoons I watched. It was a character I didn't have in a range of character, or in a toy line that I absolutely was beloved and collected. So I picked this up, and then went on a mission at the Comic-Con to see if they had the other Brawn that was released, which was the Cybertronian version of Brawn. And believe it or not, they did. So I've picked that up as well. That's not in this pile. I couldn't fit everything into the pile from my July haul. It's quite a big haul in July. I don't think I've ever felt quite so overfaced by the amount of new things that I've got in my collection. And this includes some wonderful special offers. There was one of the things I picked up is here. It's a Black Series figure. I'm going to give it its own video very shortly, actually. But it's Jon Favreau as Paz Vizsla from The Mandalorian. And it's a beautiful figure. I'm going to put it away. It's a beautiful packaging, very collectible packaging, you know, lovely marketing. So that's marvellous. Well done. I was never going to pick that up. It was not on my radar. I had no intention of picking it up. I you know, as I've said on here before, I never wanted to go back into picking up Star Wars figures because I felt that was a rabbit hole I wouldn't survive going down. But you look around, you see what's there, and everywhere else I've looked or seen it, that figure retails for it in the UK around about £35, £45, in some cases higher. I saw this on it's not a knockoff, before anyone wonders, but I saw this on a stall at London Film and Comic Con for a significantly reduced rate. I think it was that sort of end of period, end of con. They were trying to get, they want to take back as least as possible, and so lots of things were going well down in price, and I got it for an absolute snap. So you know, you really want to do it. And by contrast, I also had this delivered as a pre-order, which is from the Book of Boba Fett. It's Cobb Vanth and Cad Bane 2-pack. And a very exciting 2-pack it is. I've not opened it yet. I'm going to save opening it for the video. But there's, you know, again, I was tempted because I thought, well, I've started to get my collector's taste for Star Wars back. But the reality is, it's what do I do with them once I've got them? Am I just going to keep them boxed up? Or am I actually going to take them out of the box and engage with them like I have here with Scourge and with Optimus from Rise of the Beasts? And I've had a lot of fun with these two. You know, I've managed to find some fun for these two in the last month. But I wouldn't I wouldn't normally have done that. But I think my relationship with collecting is in and of itself going through a bit of a change. You know, I think it's going through a bit of a not excuse the pun, but a bit of a transformation, because I want to engage more with what I've collected. I'm not collecting with a view necessarily to resell down the road. It's not, oh, get them in, let everyone else open theirs, play with them, throw them away, lose them, break them, etc, etc, etc. And then you sweep in with your minting box Cad Bane and Cobb Vanth 2-pack, or your buzzworthy Bumblebee Grimlock. Again, another Studio Series figure I would not have purchased. But then I saw a review for it. I think it was Prime versus Prime. To be honest, it was possibly Prime versus Prime and a couple of other people as well. Because I do tend to try and get as many different takes. If I am considering something, I tend to get a couple of different takes on it, if I can. So Prime versus Prime particularly did a really nice video around and addressed some of its potential shortfulls as he saw them. But a really nice video, and actually kind of it's his, so I'm blaming him entirely for that purchase. But again, Grimlock was on the same stall as Scourge and Rise of the Beasts Optimus, and a couple of other things, because again, the mini bots here, like good old Brawn, many of them, I say many of them, quite a few, but maybe not as many as it feels like, have been released either through the War for Cybertron trilogy, and as you know, I picked up Cosmos a little while back, and I really liked Cosmos, and I knew Beachcomber was coming out in the Legacy lineup, and they also had Beachcomber, and I picked up Beachcomber as well. And actually, I continued and picked up a few of what were historically mini-bots, and had been given that sort of upgrade into G1-esque modernised Transformers. And I think I got Huffer, Warpath, Pipes, as I mentioned, Beachcomber. So, you know, there was a few of those that I picked up that I hummed and hawed about in the past, because I thought, well, I don't know if I really want to collect those, because it's another avenue and it's another set. And actually, I went, you know what? I don't care. I'm going to get them. And you know why? Because I'd saved up money. I'd saved up an allocation of budget so that I could spend some money at this convention. Because I think that's really important. I think you need to be able to say, I've set myself a budget. This is what I've got to spend. This is my disposable amount of money for my collections, whatever it might look like, which also then encourages you to look around for your particularly well-priced Paz Vizsla, for example. And that enables me, and I'm very fortunate. I have currently regular work, and I'm able to pay my bills, and I'm able to save a little bit of money every month, and so I'm able to budget for collecting stuff and stuff that I want to get. Not everyone is in that fortunate position, and I 100% recognise that. And if I went back in time a few years, I would most definitely not have been in that position myself, and I would watch enviously on YouTube. Which again is another reason I like doing the videos, because it hopefully gives some people access who may not have access to some of these things, a chance to see them, a chance to see whether they're actually worth the hype, or if there is something that they want to save up and do. But you know what really brought home to me, and this is, if you like, the key reason I wanted to do this particular video. Collecting isn't well, collecting can be as expensive and as costly, or as I'll say it, as cheap and as cheerful as you want it to be, or as you let it be. It shouldn't ever be, in my opinion, so onerous that you're having to scrape money together to get the next thing you need to collect. Don't do that. Don't put your collection over your food and over your house or whatever. Collecting should be fun. And I think if ever it isn't fun, or it's ever too much of a challenge, you might want to think about whether it's worth carrying on doing that. I'm very lucky. I know others are very lucky. Some people, I'm not one of them. Some people get sent stuff to look at and to review. Some may acquire it through other means. I'm not that person either, so I can't comment on that, but I hear about it. But either way, don't be jealous of those people, because they haven't forked out in the way that you might have to fork out, or that I fork out for what we collect. Instead, collect what you're in a position to collect, if you want to, and do look at a range of people's YouTube videos as to say, well, actually, do I really want that? Do I really need that in my collection? And sometimes you don't need it, but you'd really like to have it, and that's fine. That's because that's where I think we all are. We don't need it. We just collect it because, you know, it's what we want to do. We find it fun. We love it. We love the various things. It connects us in some way to something in our past. I truly believe that's the root cause of most people's collecting. Genuinely I do. And so whether you're just recouping, getting the band back together again of all your G1 mini-bots, or whether you're going after all the Bayverse characters, or you're looking just to collect from a particular film like Rise of the Beasts, or if you are emotionally invested in, you know, if Star Wars, the original collection of Star Wars stuff, like The Return of the Jedi celebrating its 40th anniversary. Again, another example. I was very fortunate enough to be at the Star Wars celebration in UK, in London, quite a few weeks ago now, but I was there, and they were launching, and they did it beautifully, but they were launching so many wonderful toys and vehicles that you get swept up in it, and I did. So I ended up doing a lot of pre-orders, and I know they're coming. They're coming imminently. But I was in a position where I've budgeted for it, and it was okay. And occasionally you can budget for the world, and then something else will suddenly land in front of you, and that did happen to me at the convention. And I spent 2 days humming and hawing about whether or not to go over budget and pick something up. And if you follow my Instagram, the Time Travelling Toy Collector, you know what that is because you've already seen it. But I will be doing that as part of, as I get towards my 200th video, that'll be coming up around about then. And there is a clue somewhere in amongst everything you can see here, in case you don't know what that is. It was a impulse buy, if you like, but it was still a considered impulse buy. And I'll tell you for why it was considered, because it was a lot of money that, you know, by the same token could have bought me a long weekend somewhere as a little holiday or something like that. Now, I'm not going to get myself into debt for my collection, and I would urge everybody not to get themselves into debt for a collection. A collection is not worth it. There's too much debt, and we're all, you know, getting into debt for various other things. Do not do that. And if you think if you're gonna sort of roll the dice and say, yes, but I've got a mint in box Grimlock Bumblebee Buzzworthy Bumblebee version of that studio series, or I've got myself a mint on card Brawn and it's going to be worth a fortune, or I've got myself an NX, an SS Enterprise NX refit mint in box from Eagle Moss. Remember Eagle Moss? And I'm going to put it somewhere safe, and then in 30 years that's going to be my pension. It's a gamble, folks, and it's not a gamble I would recommend, because back in the day when Star Wars figures and Star Wars playsets, because let's be honest, that's what most people think about when they think about the cost and the value of toys 20, 30, 40 years later. People are wise to it. They're wise to that. They're not. So now there's a ton of people doing that, which means the long-term value of those things is not going to increase in the way that those original Star Wars figures absolutely did. And again, that's another nostalgia fest. You know, let's not pretend to ourselves it's anything but that, because it's not. It is a nostalgia fest, and I'm here for that. Don't get me wrong. Most of the reasons I collect is for the purposes of nostalgia. So I'm not in any way, shape or form going to argue against that. But we need to be careful, and I think it's just sort of a little warning to myself as much as it is to anybody else, because this July I picked up a lot of stuff, far more than I anticipated. I'm happy with all of it. I'm able to afford it because I saved up and I had a budget for it. So, you know, I've not damaged myself or my situation as a result of it, but I just think there's a little bit of a healthy step back every now and again to go, well, all right, okay, hang on, where are we with this? What am I doing with this? Am I in control of it, or is it in control of me? And actually, I'm in control of it for now. But you know, if ever I worry about it, I'll take a break. I'll stop. But I think also as an adult, there's an element of ease, and I use the word ease loosely because, as I say, I'm very mindful that not everyone's in the position where you can do this, and I am fortunate enough to be able to put some money aside on a monthly basis so that I can save up for this kind of stuff. But when I was a child growing up, and this comes back to my, you know, the legacy of my mum and my dad to an extent, I suppose. I got stuff twice a year. I got stuff at my birthday, and I got stuff at Christmas. And you know what? I felt really spoiled. And I look around today, and I didn't know what spoiled was, because my birthday's in October, and Christmas is, well, at Christmas. So it was like within a couple of months of each other. But the rest of the year, not so much. When I'm going away on holiday, yeah, sometimes I'd have some money or I'd have pocket money which I could save up, so I might buy myself something. I was really excited. I can remember this vividly because I had a little plastic box where I would save all my coins and any notes that I had acquired. I would go away on holiday, or for a long weekend, or for a day trip to London, and I'd have I think the most I think I ever had to go away on holiday with was around £50, and more often than not it would be around £20, £25, which was was a lot of money back then. But you think now, I'm looking at this in front of me, this cost me £15. If it had been mint on card, it would have cost me significantly more. There are items here that cost £50 or normally cost around £50 in their own right. And I think we really need to think about, how things have moved on. Because I look around now and I see people, and I include myself in this, at a situation where if something comes out, or it's new, or I really want, and again, it's not need, it's want, really want something, I'll buy it. I'll pre-order it. I'll pay for it. And that was something I could never do as a child. And it was something I could never really ask my parents to do as a child. Although, of course, in those days, we didn't always know what was coming out and when, because we didn't have things like the internet. We were lucky if we had like little catalogues that would tell us what was coming out soon. And I'd scour, department store catalogues when they were released to see what new stuff they were going to be carrying ahead of Christmas or ahead of birthday, so I could sort of go, oh my goodness me, Mum, Dad, this is what I need for Christmas. This is what I need for Christmas. Whereas nowadays, I don't know whether it's that sort of sense of fear of missing out, or that just sense of, I went through a childhood, and actually post-childhood, because even once I was out of college and growing up, there wasn't a lot of disposable income, so of my own. So I was still very much in a position where I was going, I've got to be very careful with what I spend my money on, which is why I always save and make a point that I want to be able to afford something. I don't want to get something on credit. I want to be able to afford something, and if I can't afford it, I won't get it, because I'm in control of that. But I think it feels really strange now, and also to the point that, and this is I think why July has really sort of seen me go, oh my goodness me, I have so many things to sort out and find homes for and do videos on, because in my youth this would never have happened. And since collecting, actually, I don't think I've had a month where I've ended up with so many new things in one go as I have had this July. If I look back over the last 5 or 6 years, definitely, absolutely not. Really not. So I don't know quite how that's happened, but it has. I think also because within this pile, we've also got some things from Master Replica and Sci-Fi Collector, who are two of the UK retailers, certainly online retailers, who are sort of, if you like, they are now retailing the old Eagle Moss Hero Collector stock that would otherwise have been sold. So that's also added to that, because they're doing some regular drops of new things, and so I've picked up some of those, because again, though that has a finite amount and a time limit to being able to purchase it, and a couple of instances, for example, the SS Enterprise, the NX refit here from Star Trek Enterprise, and then later Picard, that was something I really wanted and couldn't get, and missed out on 2 previous drops with Master Replica, but got it on the last one. Hurrah! But I think we just need. I just feel I want to. I don't even know where I'm going with this now, but I wanted to make the point that I just think, reflecting as I have been on what I've collected this month, there's a lot here, and I know August needs to be lighter. I think there'll be some pre-orders that turn up, and I'll fine, but I need to not be actively looking to go, oh, that's in stock, I'm going to get that, because I think that's not healthy. And suddenly I find myself with a wall, not quite, but what feels like a wall of collectible toys and models and so on, and I need to process that and do something with it, because as I say, as a child, this was never something that I would be confronted with, apart from, as I say, birthdays and Christmas, and that was across a range of, you know, people getting me Christmas and birthday presents. It wasn't like in a 1 month hit of me purchasing stuff. So I think I just need to, this is more of a sort of a cautionary tale to myself, but I think also in terms of our relationship with collecting and our relationship with toys, we just need to make sure that we are driving that relationship. The relationship isn't driving us, because it can be expensive, it can be challenging, and that there are times when it can be really overfacing, which is a little bit how I felt when I was looking at all this, going, oh my God, what am I going to do with all of these things that I've just seem to be picking up left, right and centre. Do I regret it? Absolutely not. Don't get me wrong. Am I going to enjoy doing the videos around them? Yes, I absolutely am. Am I going to enjoy trying to find somewhere to put them? Less so, because, you know, you get to a point where you have to think, well, actually I've got a couple of big collections out. I've got my quite a big Doctor Who collection that I have on display. I've got my Star Trek starships on display. My Transformers I have slightly differently, because I prefer to use those for toy photography stuff, and so I keep them slightly differently. But now I've got a new line of Star Wars toys that I'm bringing in. I've expanded my range of interest in Transformer figures, which wasn't going to be the plan. So, you know, I've slipped a bit in my own policing of myself, but you know what? I'm still safe, I'm still happy in what I'm doing, but I suppose I'm just acknowledging that it would be very easy for this to get out of control. And I think from my experience, I just want to share with whoever may watch this video, that if you do want to get into collecting, or you've got into collecting, you may have a mechanism or something you can share with me in the comments as a means to an end, to try and help me, you know, not rationalize, because I'm quite happy with what I'm doing, but you know, you might have a strategy of managing yourself, and maybe that's what I need. But I'm not, as I say, I don't think I'm out of control currently. I'll yell for help if it starts to get that way, but I think it is just something we need to be mindful of, especially when we're facing challenging times and challenging days on a daily basis, with the cost of living, etc. And as I say, I really am aware that there are a lot of people with very large family, lots of dependents, challenging income, a lot of expenditure that is absolutely essential, power, food, a roof over your head, etc. Being able to get to work, where that is a, you know, a positive consideration. And I don't for a second take any of this for granted. And that's also why I'm really grateful for where people do watch the videos, they like them, they subscribe to the channel, because then, you know, if you are interested in a piece, or there is something that you want to have a look at before you think, actually this is a considered purchase, I don't know if I should go and get it, if I'm going to enjoy it, then hopefully if it's something I've got or some other reviewer has got, you can watch that, you can see that, and you go, actually, yeah, I like it, I like what they've done, I like what they can do with it, but it's going to be a pass for me, because it isn't screaming to me, I need it. Whereas the opposite may happen, and you may see something and you go, wow, I really love that version of the Enterprise. You know, I'm a real a Star Trek fan, so it would be, I'd just love to have that in a lineup, and now I've seen it, I really want it, so now I know I need to commit to trying to find it, and find the money to pay for it, because it's going to be, you know, $30 or $40, whatever it might be. And so I hope that the videos help in some respect you to moderate your decisions and your choices. And for that's why I always sort of say, if it's helped in either direction, please do drop a like. And if my impassioned talking about my own life experiences here has been in any way insightful or of interest, or helped you pass the last 25 to 30 minutes, then I'm really happy. I'm really glad that's had a positive impact on you. And please as a usual, beg, help Scourge, Optimus and Brawn and Grimlock and Boba Fett and Cad Bane and Cobb Vanth and Warpath and Paz Vizsla and everybody else here today. Keep a home, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and who knows what madness will be coming your way very shortly. But I'll give you a clue, a lot of it is in front of you now. And there's a lot of it that isn't, but that's, you know, that's just stuff that's lined up. Anyway, thanks very much for spending the last 35 minutes or so with me. You've been a fantastic audience. I hope this has meant something to you, and it's not just complete and inconceivable and incoherent drivel. Yeah, I look forward to seeing you in a future video. Like and subscribe, please, and don't forget that a thing of beauty, and there must be something here that you know you'd like, really is a toy forever. Take care, and bye bye for now.